So what is organic anyways? Let's see. Organic. Of, relating to, or derived from living organisms. Or of, relating to, yielding or involving the use of food produced with the use of feed or fertilizer of plant or animal origin without employment of chemically formulated fertilizers, growth stimulants, antibiotics, or pesticides. Since the inception of agriculture around 10,000 years ago, humans have always tried to make their harvests larger, tastier, and more nutritious. Now, part of the struggle to keep ourselves fed is the need to wrestle with nature to come out with the best crop each year. There are several things that can starve, strangle, or devour a crop. Nutrient-depleted soil, lack of rainfall or local water supply, invasion of weeds or fungus, and invasion of worms and insects. Over the years, especially in the past century, farming has advanced to the point where yields have increased hundreds-fold, and farmlands have sprawled out in places where it was once impossible to grow anything. So how did this food boom actually happen? Technology. Farmers no longer have to find easily tillable land. They have tractors and implements. They no longer need rainfall or natural water beds. They have irrigation. They no longer need fertile soil year after year. They have artificial fertilizers. And beyond all that, the invention of pesticides has made insect and fungus infestations virtually non-existent. So granted, these are all great things in concept, as they've allowed our species to flourish by allowing lots of food to be grown in many places around the world. The agricultural revolution helped advance the human race to reach unimaginable heights. However, we may have finally reached our limits with food capacity in respect to the health of our planet. When plants like coffee are exposed to a lot of sun, this invigorates the growing process. However, this rapid growth depletes the soil, and farmers must then place large amounts of nitrogen fertilizer on their plants, or else they will die due to lack of nutrients. The use of these fertilizers causes pollution on both the production end and on the consumer end, creating high levels of toxic nitrates in our drinking water. The National Academy of Sciences has said that synthetic fertilizers create more harmful environmental effects than their natural counterparts. When scientists tested water found below apple trees, they discovered toxic concentrations of nitrates near the conventionally treated apple trees, with levels 5 times higher than that of the organic ones. Under pesticide exposure, the pests build up a resistance to the chemicals targeted to destroy them, rendering this method ineffectual compared to the organic method. The pesticides poured and sprayed on crops to fend off bugs have a tendency to not completely break down, allowing toxic or carcinogenic agents to enter our body tissues. The transportation of produce traveling from factory farms across the country or the world to our supermarkets only adds to the growing problem of pollution. And that's not to mention the growth hormones and antibiotics that may be absorbed through consumption of many non-organic animal products. So naturally, these things worried us, and we wanted to know if there were any reasons left, besides the price, to not buy organic foods. Taste might have been one of those reasons, so we set out to find out which really tasted better. We selected 2 of the most popular food items around, products that people would get in line to taste and judge. We picked apples and coffee. For the apples, we chose Northern Spies, one set grown organically and the other with inorganic chemicals. And for the coffee, we chose one shade-grown organic coffee from Mexico, grown naturally and without chemicals in the shady undergrowth of surrounding tree forests, and one conventionally grown with pesticides and fertilizers in the coffee capital of Colombia. Now, it's worth mentioning that sun-grown coffee requires more agrochemicals. Sometimes these are chemicals that have been banned in the U.S. and branded as unsafe. Lax agricultural regulations have led to chemical contaminations in the water near some of these farms, sickening the workers. Now, with these tests, we wanted to see which tasted better between conventional or mass-produced and organically grown produce. We wanted a social survey in order to find scientific results. And seeing that we're TC3 students, we didn't have all the advanced testing equipment necessary to look at these things. So instead, we thought we'd use the time-honored system of trial by jury, and at least we'd know which type tastes better. So we made up some posters, painted up some signs, and then we were off to make people put their mouths where their money is.
I can't begin to tell you how much you mean to me. My world would end if ever we were through. I can't begin to tell you how happy I would be if I could speak my mind like others do. I make such pretty speeches whenever we're apart, but when you're near, the words I choose refuse to leave my heart. So take the sweetest phrases the world has ever known and make believe I've said 'em all to you. Such pretty speeches whenever we're apart, but when you're near, the words I choose refuse to leave my heart. So take the sweetest phrases the world has ever known and make believe I've said 'em all to you.
And then came the big moment. We had finally been tracked down by our professor, and it was time to be tested. Actually, it wasn't that bad. Doc made a lot of the same contemplative and confused gestures that our other tasters did. Bitter, smooth, sweet, tart. It really was hard to tell, and that was the point.
I don't think it tastes the difference.
Our items tasted very similar. Sometimes we didn't even know the difference.
They both honestly taste the same.
Okay.
Luckily, we had secretly labeled our items in a code only we could understand. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to answer questions like,
Can you tell me which was which?